the name of this podcast is random, but I think we all get to a point where sometimes you are literally driving to work every single day and you are miserable at the job you're in.
And I feel like you always get told like, oh, you're too young to be tired, you're just beginning. And then, like, no, people need a break. Even high school, you need a break.
I wasted my 20s hasting into a career that I didn't really want. And so
oh my God.
It's not,
I'm going to be on my cell phone at 65 years old, texting people.
Rescheduling people.
No.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Do you remember this? To get your photo ID for school. And that is when I
totally forgot
I forgot about this. The hole in the wall, I'm gonna put a hole in your face.
Yeah.
Just
an
kidding.
extra
I would
one.
never do that.
An extra one.
Imagine when I'm not an hour away. This is gonna be so much fun.
The fact that you're thinking about the future of us really continuing to do this.
We will.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm here for it. Honestly, I feel like I'm in a relationship with you and I'm just waiting for you to break up with me. I was like, dang. I'm totally.
I would never.
I was like, what if she just dumps me? I'm like, it's okay. I don't want her to feel pressure to do this. This is crazy.
Girl, I feel like everything was trying to hinder us. We're finally here.
I was gonna say, I really think
This
that
is
the enemy
crazy.
got you. The enemy was trying to get.
I
That's
didn't
what
want
I
to
thought
say
about.
it either, but like, when has this ever? I was on time for the barbecue. And this is the day.
Say this. Okay.
Like, why is this happening?
I'm gonna tell you. Remember I said you're gonna go first? I'll change it to me going
Okay.
first.
Because I don't want to acknowledge it, but I think we have to acknowledge it because what is happening right now?
It means that this is something we're supposed to be doing.
When's the last time I was up till 6 in the morning?
And when is the last time that you were? Aren't you a timely person typically?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like maybe 15 minutes for you or like 20 minutes.
And that's
I'm
nothing.
like,
But yeah, the fact
2.5 hours.
This is
later.
crooked too, by the way. Let me fix it. When you told me that, I felt the Holy Spirit telling me like,
What is happening?
this means that you're supposed to be doing
Yeah.
it because I just need you to practice patience.
Yeah.
You go first.
Oh, we're starting.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
starting.
Well, my name is Taylor,
And I'm Abby.
and welcome to the first episode of How Did I Get Here?
Yes, this podcast, I don't know. How did we get here? We don't know.
How?
This podcast is going to be about
Our journey in life and figuring out.
where we want to be and where we don't want to be. I think it's a general discussion about getting to a point in your life where we're all just kind of floating around trying to figure out how do we get to be 30. We still don't know what we want to do with the rest of our lives. You feel like you're in a career you don't like or you don't want. That whole kind of a concept, that's kind of where we reached, and we were just talking one day and we said, how did I get here? We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. And so when you were just talking about being late, I promise you. So the other day we were sending voice recordings.
Yes.
And you taught me haste makes waste. And I made a big deal about that because I said that is so funny because I rush all the time. And I just feel like I waste time, more time doing that. Her mom told her that, and I don't know why I've never like heard that before, but it's a thing. But I thought about that as well, like with our careers as well. Like I feel like I rushed to get in and out of college, and that's how I got here.
I was literally just talking to my mom the other day. I can't remember. I ended up spending the night at my parents' house, and I don't know why I was over there. I don't remember. But I ended up spending the night, and I was getting ready the next morning. I'm not sure if I had to go to work or if I was just going back home, but I was like rushing and getting ready and getting Uzi ready and just like just moving really fast. Yes, Uzi is my little dog. I forgot you guys don't know him yet, but you'll meet him one of these days. I was rushing to get ready, and my mom was like, I just don't really like that. I like to take my time. I'm like, I do too, but I just don't really have an option. And I just realized how different my mom's life is from mine. And I would love to live her life, but I just don't. And I just don't have the option to move. She every day she can wake up, she does what she wants to do. She likes to work out. She has plans. She wants to clean and do all of her wifely duties and life duties, but she also has the time to do it at her own pace. And I didn't realize until she said that we just live totally different lives. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about it, and I don't think it was a day I even had to go to work, but because I'm just used to waking up, rushing, getting ready, I just realized I had to step back and realize that you were on a different pace for me.
And today I feel like we had a time set to do this podcast, and Taylor is typically on time, like she's never late. And that made me feel like we were supposed to be recording this because for whatever reason, like time got pushed back for her. And this sounds crazy. I'm gonna say this in here because I be talking about Jesus a whole lot, as you know. But I promise you, I don't know if you ever heard people talk about how like a specific like Bible verse, like God will put it in your brain. And so I was reading the book of Samuel, 2 Samuel, and all of a sudden I felt like it's 2 Samuel chapter 4, verse 4. And it's a whole story about I only know that because he put that number in my head and I had to look it up before I started. But it's Saul was the king before King David. We all know King David. But when
I was just listening to the story, but go ahead.
Yes, the part of the story where Saul's son Jonathan had a son named Mephibosheth.
Okay.
So when Saul and Jonathan died, they were in a haste to hurry up and get the grandson Mephibosheth. I hope I'm saying his name right. I think like their maid or whatever, she was trying to hurry up and grab him and save him. And haste makes waste. And what did she do? She dropped him.
I didn't get to that part. I'm learning something. Okay.
She dropped him and like he was like paralyzed. Not paralyzed. I think they call him lame, but like his legs were broken for the rest of his life. And I was reading it, and this is why they talk about different what's it called? Not dialect, but like you have the King James version of the Bible,
right.
And the different versions of the Bible. I was reading it in one version, and I was like, God, why you put that in my head? It doesn't even make sense because they said the maid was in a hurry, but then when I changed it to the other version I usually read, which is the ESV version, it said haste. Yes. She was in a haste, and Taylor had just sent me a voice recording about haste makes waste, and I felt like that was so true for me because I always rush, and I'm always even when I'm driving, when I be low key like running a little, like when the light is yellow, but you keep going.
Even realize,
like God was like, you need to stop. Like if I turn that light red, you need to stop. So I was reading it today, and I finally figured out when God was like, just take your time, because it was. I read that again after you told me you were running late, and then I was like, we need to take our time. We need to take our time. But all that said, do you have any other introduction you want to do, or you just want to get into like, how did we get here?
I think we could just get into it. I have my notes pulled up.
Go ahead. You start.
Okay,
How you get into this career being a manager, assistant manager?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my degree and how I got to Bradley. I don't know if I'll get all the way up to my working career, but I will go through our journey together at Bradley University. Starting back a long time ago, I would say 12. 12
she made it sound like she was going to talk about the dinosaurs long
ancient times.
Girl.
Like 12 years ago, we were seniors, right? In high school, 2012.
Yeah, we
senior
graduated
year.
in 13.
Yes, we graduated in 2013. So I would say starting senior year, of course, everybody's thinking about what their next steps are, what you're going to do after graduation. You have the big decision day at school where you choose what college you're going to go to. But it all started my senior year. I had to figure out what I was gonna do after high school. My whole life, I feel like it was between being a veterinarian.
I never knew that about you.
Well, because I love animals. Shout out to Winter.
I didn't even know
this baby looking at me. He's like looking. I'm sorry, he's looking into my eyes.
What's the story? She's our first audience member.
What was I gonna say? But I wanted to be a vet or a teacher.
I can see that.
I used to line my dolls up and my teddy bears up and like teach them. In school, I was really good at math. The other subjects we won't talk about. I passed, but I was really good at math. So I thought about being a teacher. Or as I got older, I really liked fashion and like beauty and doing my hair, and just like retail in general. So it was between those three, but. What was it? Being a veterinarian slowly phased itself out because I won't go into this like too deep, but I feel like Chicago public schools and like the programs we have, like science isn't a top priority.
That's part of my story too.
With that being said, I decided that being a veterinarian probably wasn't the best decision for me, just based on my strong suits and what I did well in school. So it came down to being a teacher or working in retail or working in the fashion industry. A lot of people try to talk me out of both, honestly, because they're low paying, but especially like being a teacher, Or honestly, like I said, it was just both. They would just say like, you won't make this amount of money, this and that. But honestly, it depends on what type of person I think you are. But for me, I knew if I was passionate about something that the money would come regardless. So I did, exactly. I did decide not to be a teacher, but I did go with another low-paying job. I decided to work in retail, and honestly, I've done well for myself. I'm able to afford everything I need, and I just live a more simplistic life, so I don't need like. I can get the designer things, but I don't need that stuff, and I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses, so it doesn't really matter to me. I'd rather live a life of peace, you know, than all the extra glam and glitz and glamour. So I decided to go with retail my senior year. There weren't too many schools that offered retail as a major, and the program was honestly pretty small in Bradley too. But I had the options of, I think, Columbia in Chicago. I think it's Dominic University or something like that. I don't know. It was that school, and then Bradley University. Bradley University, while it had a higher tuition, it did seem like a good option. My dad was okay with the tuition, and I was okay with the distance it was from home. So like Columbia would have been like a safe option. I would have been able to stay at home or like live, downtown area and still go to school and be close to my parents. But I wanted that adult experience. So I decided that Bradley was the perfect location because it's only about 2 hours away from Chicago. So I could still be an adult and also live my best life and like have my parents if I needed them. So it was the perfect option for me. So senior year, I decided that I was going to go to Bradley University. And also, the school just has a ring to it. It's like Bradley University. It sounds like...
What's so funny is also me and you are best friends, and we both, like, did this, but I didn't know really anything about this part of your life.
Yeah, my journey there.
Yes. I just knew once we got there, and I said, "Who's this girl?"
I know, girl. And I also thought of like my first time seeing you. I don't know if it'll be a surprise when you hear it, but I remember now when I first saw you. But we'll get to that in a second. I think did I say everything else? I think that's my next thing. So after senior year, we pack up the U-Haul and head to Bradley University with my bright red hair. I don't know if you remember that. It matched the vibe, okay? Bradley is red and white. That's not why I did it, but yeah, I had like bright red hair.
It's because we were grown. I dyed my hair blonde. I dyed my hair blonde that year too, and I have not dyed my hair since.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was just the vibe. So I'm in my U-Haul heading to Bradley University, and the first stop after like hours of sitting in a U-Haul, 2 hours, there's heat and humidity. The first stop, of course, everybody thinks it's perfect to take your pictures. Do you remember this? To get your photo ID for school. And that is when
I
forgot about this, girl.
How did
it was
you remember that?
I don't know why this just popped in my head, but it was so like
I remember that.
quick and random. But
what did we say to each other? I
don't think we talked to each other, but I put you in like my little personal.
I did see you that day. I did see you, mind you, as like a backstory too. Like this was. Did you say like this was our orientation?
Yes.
Yes. Like this was the last orientation session of the summer before we went, and so yeah, like I was going there to get my. That's so funny.
I thought it was like the little luncheon or like the little dinner we had or whatever with my dad. But no, the first time I ever saw you, we talked.
I don't know if I feel like we had some sort of interaction where I like looked at you, whether somebody was in the other's way, we were passing by, holding the door, but it was something.
I don't know why that just came to me, and I don't know why they chose like as soon as we like get off this 2-hour drive, that's your time to take your picture. But anyway, we had to go into this little office, take our photo ID pictures. And I just so happened to see Abby there, and like we never seen each other in our lives, didn't know each other, but when you see somebody
from each other in Chicago,
I know, like literally 15 minutes away from each other. But when you see somebody that looks like you kind of like you take a little, you just put that in your memory bank. So I held that. I'm like, okay, I might end up being cool with this girl. Like, she's not really interacting with me, but we could be like friends in the future.
I was not
So it was like, I think you, your dad, and your brother, and then me and my dad just sitting in the office waiting to take our pictures. So we had that quick little moment. You get no retakes. There's no like beauty shots, no special
It's
like
DMV
ring
style.
camera.
It's
You're like
DMV
next,
style.
and you go right along. But I took my picture really quick. I can't remember who was first or second, but we ended up leaving the office, and I didn't see you. We probably saw each other same day, but we never had like an interaction like that again for a while. Along the way, I met a few other associates or friends. We had like, shout out to Shabria, who I spent a lot of time with the first couple of days. She was a good friend that looked like me, honestly.
to Shabria, but now she's not dead, but she left college
She
quick.
left.
She left. You know when those people like don't come back? I think it was the first semester or second
I'm
semester?
pretty sure.
For halfway through first semester, we spent her dining dollars like crazy.
And
Like,
good for her. When you know, you know.
Yeah. See, look we should have been like her because I knew I wasn't supposed to be there anyways too. Granted, I was gonna say like in my notes too, that God has a way to work everything out because how did I get here? We're here, and I feel like we're meant to be here. We're meant to be friends, and we wouldn't be here had I left. I did end up leaving though, but that's another thing. But I came back.
We'll get to that in another episode.
But Shabria, she left had maybe October, and so she had like half of her money left that you used to like eat with at campus.
I don't think I got to use it.
Oh, I did.
Good for you, girl.
Marquita, I'm pretty sure got most of it.
I know she probably
And
did.
I came in at the last minute like, can I get a Snickers or something? A honey bun?
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. So what was I saying? I spent my first couple of days with Shabria. Don't do this, but I think it was like the second night in my dorm room. I was by myself, and it was starting to like sink in that like my dad was gonna leave me
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, like I'm like, oh, he's gonna be here for a while. No, he had a few days left, and then I was gonna be the adult that I wanted to be. And while that's fun, when you're in your dorm room at night alone at midnight, it gets a little scary. So I invited Shabria into my room, and she's like, yeah, sure, I'll come. I'm feeling the same way, basically. And like, she was feeling lonely too. Don't do this, you guys. People can poison you. She could have ripped out my weave. Anything could have happened. Like, so we decided to sleep together in my dorm. Again, shout out to her. She was the best ever. And then along the way, we met a few other friends, as you mentioned, Marquita, Manisha, who else? Alyssa.
These names you remember?
Who was?
I usually have a good. Oh yeah, Tatiana.
Tatiana. So we meet all these girls. Alyssa and Tatiana were on my floor, so we just all like see each other and just become cool. We start hanging out together.
Were we all in this Geyser, the same dorm? I was in Geyser.
You were on the
fifth floor,
and I was on the 8th floor, I think. Yes. So we were all like, as you see somebody, you know, you just become friends with them. And throughout the days, I think eventually we got to the point where we had that luncheon, or like something happened where we were.
Yeah, it was like a morning brunch or something like that morning, and then I was saying like I was lonely. See, listen, what she's forgetting to mention.
You had a few. You had Cindy and Alexis, right? Is that her name?
It was Alexis. I don't know. Was Cindy there during that
I don't know.
orientation?
Maybe it was just Alexis.
What she's trying to say is when you go to a PWI and
this is exactly what I'm trying to say, that I'm not saying.
And you see it when she says someone that looks like you, she's saying
all the little black girls started hanging out together.
Hanging out.
No offense to everybody else,
no.
but like when you see
somebody similar
to you,
especially in the
that's what you
PWI, that's what you do.
towards.
So I think that day I don't know. See, also what I don't know if she's gonna say or not is the fact that I don't mesh well with people. Not that I don't mesh well. I have
mesh better than me.
No, I mesh well, but the initial initially you're better than me because I have the RBF, the resting V face, and it's like I just kind of am stone cold until I have an interaction with you, and then I'm like, oh, okay, you're cool.
I think I'm the opposite, and I smile a lot, and then people interact with me, and they realize that I get like anxious and like go into my shell, and they're like, oh, she's not talking much. Yeah, so I have the opposite, and I take a little while to warm up to people, but I'm always smiling.
But her
so
face brings them in.
Yeah,
My face don't bring nobody in.
She's the opposite, and then she'll like talk to you and like she like is just warm and open. So yeah,
I didn't have no friends.
yeah.
That at first, so then her dad, I don't know, we were like, she was sitting at the table with all of the other fellow black ladies, black young women at the PWI at the brunch, and then I think either her dad was sitting at the table with them, I don't remember, or I think maybe he saw me walking, and we were both grabbing a French toast stick or something, and he said, hey, like I think he saw that I was the lonely one alone, and he said, hey, do you have somewhere to sit? Come sit with us. Mind you, in my memory, I don't know where my dad was because he was there.
I think the parents didn't have to come to everything.
Yeah, and her dad was the MVP.
Yeah.
And so he invited me to sit with them. And so I said, okay, I don't have nowhere to sit. Thank you for seeing through this RBF, Mr. Sir. But yes, I will be there.
And look,
I will be there.
12 years later, I'm sitting in
Girl,
her house.
You stop telling them how
I
old
know,
we are.
I'm sorry, girl.
30.
It's like 2 years later or whatever.
Yeah.
Just freshly graduated.
We're just juniors.
Oh, yeah,
actually.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So
What happened next? What happened next?
So my dad invites you over to the table. We start chit-chatting, of course. And then I think after that, like every time we would see you, we kind of just like, you were invited to the table. I think we had like another big, yes, we had another big dinner. I think your dad was there. I can't remember if it was like a seafood and steak place or something.
It
was like by the lake.
It was a steak place.
Yeah, and that's when we really started talking, and like our dad started talking and everything, and her brother Merlin also
loves Mr. Carradine, loves Bruno.
Yes.
My brother, yeah.
I am the person who like, I just, especially when I first meet people, like I let them do the talking. So thank goodness for my dad and her dad, and everybody's just connecting because it kind of just brought us closer. I'm like, yes, as I'm slowly like looking at Abby and leaning towards her. Like we are becoming friends, but everybody's like doing all the work for us. So we just slowly gravitated towards each other and started hanging together more and more. After that, I think our parents left shortly after that, and then we started to have our real fun. We went out a few times, but I think what really connected us is the fact that we did not like going out. So we would hide from the crowd and like sit in our dorm rooms and just do whatever, talk, watch TV, eat our oatmeal, which we will talk about later on. But yeah, we just really started to bond. I think like you have this huge group when you first get there. You don't want to feel lonely. You're creating like your social setting or whatever, and then you slowly find out like who's more and more like you or similar to you. And I really gravitated towards Abby because of that.
Resting B-face.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
I believe I summed it up.
How you got to college?
Yes, at least how I got to college.
And despite add in before I go the fact of, because that's what I want this kind of conversation to be about, is how you got somewhere despite the fact that it really wasn't. Like if your parents would have asked you at 17, what do you really want to do with your life?
Girl.
That's not, you wouldn't have said, I really want to go to college or reach out. That was, how did you end up there, even though you, like, what was the pressure or the reason why you ended up going to college?
You're right, I should speak on that.
Yeah.
I did not know what I wanted to do at all. I feel like at 17 you shouldn't really have to know, but you're kind of pushed to just make a decision even though it's not. I feel like before my senior year, maybe junior year, when you're taking like ACTs and all that, they kind of start talking to you about what schools you want to go to. But like I kind of feel like I got pushed into it because before that, like nobody was really, like when you're little, they ask you what, like you want to be a firefighter or this or that, like and you just throw things out, but nobody was really like
introducing us. Yeah, that's what you were saying about Chicago Public School. I think a lot of other schools, I will say, certain high schools and certain like bigger schools, they like introduce people to so many different career choices from a younger age, like STEM programs, like science, whatever else. All y'all know what STEM means. All that stuff. We never were introduced to that. Like, and I didn't go to Chicago Public Schools. I even went to Catholic school. But I just think school systems in general, unless you are like pushed into a great school system that offers you different career paths. I think for me, when I was in high school, I do remember there being a career fair. But then a lot of them, girl, half the tables was like the Army and the military too. And then I don't think that I really knew about a lot of careers until I was already in college.
Yes.
And then I was like, I didn't even realize I didn't think about being a pharmacist.
And then the pressure to complete that in 4 years, like when you barely even know what you're doing already, is just insane.
I loved math, and I was like, well, I don't know what I could do with that. And no one ever talked to me what I could do with that. Engineering, I was like, well, I hate physics. I hated physics in high school. They were like, well, engineering can be more than physics. There's so many different kinds. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, nobody like told me
Exactly.
that.
Nobody says that.
Yes.
So I felt like at 17, I was just pushed to make a choice. I did have my parents' support, but there's so many people going to college, you kind of don't want to swim against the current. Like, you just feel like, okay, I just need to pick something and like fit in with the rest of the group and do what I'm supposed to do. And I need to rush and make this decision.
And be the successful person that people already see you have been
Right.
in elementary school and high school,
Right.
and just continue down that successful path.
Exactly. I don't think
Of
for
academia.
me specifically, I don't think anybody assumed that I wouldn't go to college, and I didn't
Same.
want to. I'm not the bold person. I am working on it, but I wasn't the bold person to really say like, you know what, I'm not doing
And
that.
it wasn't normalized. Honestly, I will say, again, I could be generalizing, I could be wrong, but I think like the boomer generation, they didn't really, maybe some people did or didn't have as much of an opportunity to go to college, but I think your parents' generation, like Generation X, really had the opportunity to like start going to college, and they really like made it a priority. This is important. You got to get your education.
Right.
And then you get down to us millennials, and then the price of college skyrockets.
Oh my God.
And then we're forced to go there because the other previous generations know, like, if you want to be successful in life, you want to have something to fall back on, you need to go to college.
And then the goal moves. What success is has
It's
now like
constantly
jumped
moving.
to
Correct.
I don't know what.
So then it's like, now Gen Z, I think people are seeing college is not it's not the only option, and it shouldn't be forced as early as it is. You should have more of an option to figure out what you want to do. And I think Gen Z is kind of like everybody, by the time the Gen Zers now are 18, 19, 20, they're figuring that out.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and if it don't work out, college is going to be there anyway.
Right.
Eventually I can go if I want to, but I don't have to like rush into it. And maybe by the
Yes.
time I'm 25, I'll have that figured out.
And
So
I
yeah.
love that for them.
I love that for them, but yeah, for us, I think that's the millennial thing of how did we get here. I think it's just the way of the times. Like, times have changed, and our parents did what they felt like was best for us and encouraging us to do certain things, which I totally don't disagree with them. I see it, but it's just the world changed so quickly.
Right?
And college changed so quickly, and even the price of it has gone up even in the last 2 years. I was looking at even the interest rates for college are higher compared to what, like, student
Even
loans.
we haven't talked about this, but I was considering cosmetology school.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
was looking at the price, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is not what my mom paid to go to cosmetology school.
No.
And I'm, because I was thinking like I haven't been saving like and doing all that I could do, but I've been saving a little bit of money. I'm like, okay, I got enough to maybe like start off in cosmetology school. No, I don't. And that's okay. I will figure something out. I know there's loans and everything out there, but like it just seems like the price of everything, like you said, just always increases. The goal is always like set farther away from you than you think it is. And I know that's a part of life, but it's just it's hectic. It's a lot.
hectic.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll just do my quick beginning. And it's pretty much similar to Taylor. I didn't really have. I was always expected to be a certain person, and I just was I was already what is it called? Like when you
Self-motivated.
Yes, self-motivated to do well in school. I always did. Like, I didn't need any pressure. I felt bad if I got a B or a C. Oh my God. So I think I was always doing well in school. College was just expected. I wanted the big experience of going away. I had a lot of options of nearby things, but I said no. I want that experience. I want to live in a dorm, and I wasn't thinking about the cost of it. I was just thinking, whatever. People get student loans, they just ignore that later on. Nobody cares. So that's what I did. So Bradley specifically, I went to the college fair at McCormick Place here in Chicago. They have I don't know if they still have it. I'm sure probably they do. They have a big college fair where you go and you get a barcode, and then you scan your barcode registers your name and your address. So then if I go up to a college and I'm like, oh, Bradley, do I want mail from you? Yeah, I do. So I just scanned my name under like every single college that was there, and I was getting so much mail. And I'd be like, Dad, yeah, we're gonna go visit this college. See, they just sent me the letter saying that they're having a college visit. So that's how I pretty much found out about Bradley.
Did you visit a lot of the other schools? Like you
I
said, you got
did.
to know. Okay, I didn't know
visited.
that. I don't think I
You didn't visit
too
it?
many.
I
did
visited
Loyola.
Valparaiso. I visited Loyola, Monmouth, I think. I visited U of I Champaign, and it came down between Champaign and Bradley, and then they got me with Bradley because it was just too big of a school. I didn't think that I would vibe with like a really big school, so I ended up picking Bradley because I didn't want to go too far away. Like my brother went to Carbondale, and I said, ain't nobody driving 6 hours there and back. But also I was never planning on going super far because I was not gonna need a plane ticket to fly home every single freaking time. Like I wasn't gonna do that. So that's why I picked Bradley. It was a perfect like 2.5 hours, 3 hours from Chicago. And so then again when I went, same thing with her. We have the same orientation, the same stuff in the beginning pretty much. But in terms of me going to college, like I said, I wish that I just would have had I wish that gap years were normalized.
Yes.
I feel like most people didn't do gap years.
Even to like learn a trade, you can take the time off to not do anything, to rest because high school is enough.
Let me read my notes too.
And I feel like nothing is ever enough. You like, people always say, oh, you're too young to be tired. No. I took AP courses. I did dance after school. I was always a part of something. Even in college, like all the honor societies, clubs, working on campus, off campus. Like I was always doing something. And I feel like you always get told like, oh, you're too young to be tired. You're just beginning. And then like, no, people need a break. Even high school, you need a break sometimes. And I wish, like you said, it was normalized to just take that time to figure out what you want to do, a year to figure out what you want to do. And there should be a program in between that to like, if you want to do a trade, whatever you want. And I think also, I'm sorry to cut you off so much, but I think people should have a trade under their belt, like a degree and also a trade.
Correct.
Okay.
So just in case, no matter what you want to do, you can still fall back on that, I will say. And that's what I wrote down in my notes when I was trying to think of my ideas of how we got where we are. Because sometimes, like, just at the name, I know the name of this podcast is random, but I think we all get to a point where sometimes you are literally driving to work every single day and you are miserable at the job you're in and you don't know how you, like, I think maybe it is truly like the quarter life crisis for us because we're like 30 now. And so it's, you really just sit there and you're like, how, you never really, when you're like 18, you're like, man, I ain't gonna never be 30. When is that really gonna happen? Then you finally get there and it's like, how, my cat. You're like, how am I here? Yeah. I figured even when I was 25 and I really wasn't happy where I was, I figured by the time I'm 30, I'm gonna have it figured out. And you still don't, and it's just every single day, how, like, what is happening? So I wrote that I got where I'm at today by going through the motions and going too fast. Haste makes waste. That's what I was gonna say. It wasted time. Like I wasted my 20s hasting into a career that I didn't really want. And so for me, my mom was a nurse growing up. I always told her I did not want to be a nurse. I always said that. And my mom brought that up and I actually forgot that I said that. I told her I never wanted to be a nurse. But I got to college and I did not declare a major. I did not know what I wanted to do. And everybody kept telling me, I don't know if you remember that or if you told me too, but a lot of our friends were like, I think you'd be a good nurse. Like, I think you'd be a nurse. And everybody kept telling me that. And the only subject that interested me in college was science. And I was going to say I totally exited out in high school because science was terrible in high school for me. The only thing that got me through, God bless him, my high school chemistry teacher, Mr. Wheely, I will never forget him. He like instilled like chemistry on us so hard. And I said, this is dumb. I'll never have to
Good for
college.
him. Shout out to you, Mr. Wheely.
She did retail merchandising and she still had to take chemistry. And I was like, wow, Mr. Wheely was right. I guess we will have to put up with this chemistry eventually someday. But and I actually enjoyed the chemistry class, and it was the only class I enjoyed. Like I liked the biology and the chemistry once I got to college. But I didn't even consider it because high school science really sucked. So I get to college, I started doing that, and I figured, well, these nursing majors, they look great, you know, they seem really smart, and all the girlies are nurses, so that's just what I'm gonna do. So I declared nursing, and again, haste makes waste in parentheses under this episode,
right?
Because
right here,
haste makes waste every single time I say that. So when I declared the major, when I wanted to become, this is why I left. When I figured out that I wanted to become a nurse, it was at the end of my freshman year. I had declared business, changes, all of that. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And also they did have a little weird, it was called, I forgot, AEP. It was a program they had where if you weren't decided, they made you take this 1 credit hour class where you were just,
I remember
they just exposed you to different career paths to help speed along your process to declare a major. Because they always say, you got plenty of time to figure it out. You don't, because if you don't declare it, depending on what major you pick, you may end up spending more time in college, which is what was going to happen to me. When I declared it, I picked it actually once by June when I got home. I messaged my, what is it called? Your
advisor.
Messaged him. And I told him that. He said, well, they already picked their nurse. Because nursing, you can't just declare it. You have to like be picked and apply and transfer into it. So basically, when I picked it, he said you have to wait until the whole next school year, your sophomore year, to go by. And then by like January or February or something, you apply to get into it for your junior year. And I said, well, that's crazy. What if I don't get in? Because he was saying they only accept a certain amount of people, and they only have so many slots of people who flunk out or transfer out. So I said, I'm just playing the lottery at this point to get in, and that's a lot of money to go to college. So that's why the sophomore year, first semester, I didn't come back. I went to a community college here in Chicago, and then I said, well, I got to go back to college eventually somewhere, and I know some people in Bradley, so might as well head back there. So I did anyway, and I applied to the nursing program. And what ended up happening was I got in, but when I was applying, you even had to interview. So I interviewed with the, what is it? She is the president of the nursing program, so prestigious nursing, whatever. She told me, I guess she tells everybody this, like, hey, just so you know, if you don't get into this program, Bradley offers an accelerated nursing program for you to complete after you're done with your first, like with all 4 years after you graduate. You can declare a different major, complete all the prerequisite courses, spend a year and a half here just doing the accelerated program, and then you can get you can get like 2 degrees. And I was like, man, I don't want to be here another year. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person that has a 5th year, a 5.5.
And then like every time you come home from winter break too, your whole family's like, oh, how's school going? When you graduate? And you don't want to tell them, like, because nobody understands.
I got a 5th year. And that's the thing, having a 5th year was pretty common.
There's nothing wrong. Yeah,
there's nothing wrong. But again, I was rushing my way out of college. So basically, I ended up getting accepted, but the idea of spending another year and a half there by myself, because I didn't, I didn't really I had friends that were like underneath me, like younger than me, but I just wanted to rush out of college. So I rushed out, and I ended up not taking that spot, declaring psychology as a major, taking nursing prerequisite courses, and then applying to different accelerated nursing programs, because I applied to Bradley's, but again, I might not have gotten into that one either, so you have to open up your options. And I realized there were master's programs, so I said, oh, if I have to do another year and a half, I can just make it 2 years and then get a master's program altogether. So I ended up coming back to Chicago, and then also I wanted to come home at that point, so I just decided to do it here. And so I did that nursing program, and 2 years later, I got my master's in nursing. And again, I rushed my way into that career. I rushed my way into picking it just because I felt like I had to. I rushed my way out of college, and then I rushed myself back into college. I didn't even give myself a break when I started the nursing program. And then, again, I rushed my way into a job, because when I graduated, you can say when you graduated, I know you didn't have that much of a break.
Not really, no. So I had the summer, so 2 months, and then, because when did we get out of school? In
May. We graduated in May.
June, July, August. So I had 3 months, and I started work at the beginning of September, because I kind of just felt like, again, I've always had supportive parents, but I kind of just felt the pressure to start working. I didn't want to just be laying at home. Like,
and that's why it's
and I should have, because I haven't had a break since. But I should have really enjoyed that time, which I did. But I did start working shortly after that. And you were saying like how you were rushed into it.
That was me too. I wasn't even necessarily rushed. I rushed myself into working because it's not normalized to take a break.
Right. And I feel like, so what I wanted to do, I thought I did get a minor in business management, but shortly after that I realized like I really want to work. I always said I want like a little cubicle, I want my office, I want like specific, give me a task, give me a stack of papers and have me complete it, and then I go home.
Instead, she got a job that's not that at all.
I
And she is
socialize
people's boss
all day
telling them what to
long.
do.
I talk all day long. I don't remember if you guys remember if I said this in the beginning of the video, but like I am not the
Yeah.
social butterfly. I'm a nice person, but it just takes me a long time to warm up to people, and I chose management. I think it's because I've always been like chosen to be a leader, like dance captain, but it's because people know that I'm a responsible person. And I think there's a difference between being good at your job and being a responsible person and leading a team. Those are like two.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like in retail, the job that you said that you were considering moving to, those are like far in between, and it's more difficult to get to that job where she's not interacting with people.
Being
like
a buyer or a merchandise analyst, you don't see that a lot on Indeed. Not even on our personal, like, you know how like businesses have their personal, personal websites, or like we'll go through Workday. That's not something you see on the list often. Those jobs don't open up often, so it's really hard to get. And like we have had, my job has done not fairs, but like they've had times when they've talked to us about those careers, but the path is just not super clear. So I knew I wanted to, my company calls it moving down the pyramid, but I knew I wanted to move up with the company. So I figured like let me start in management and work my way there. But somehow I just ended up like tumble drying
in a never-ending cycle of like moving up,
and
but
not
I
that
don't
it's
like
the worst. Because it's my current position, so I won't say it's the worst, but it's just like I'm still trying to figure out how to get there and to get in my cubicle, which sounds crazy. But like if I have to work where I'm working, I would prefer to do a certain thing. If I'm going to choose another path, like that's fine too. But if I'm going to be where I'm at currently, it's just something that I wanted to do, that I'm not just, I don't have the clear steps to do that. And it's partially because I just rushed into getting a job. I rushed into moving up in management. And it's kind of because you have to too, because like you want to move out, like you want to take these steps in life, so you
want to make a little more money, at least just a little bit.
And it's like I know I can do these things and I'm good at this, so let me just take the next job so that I'm able to like take care of myself. So you just rush to do everything pretty much.
Exactly. And that's why I was going to say, for me with working, when I graduated, I remember I was in tears because I graduated nursing school in August of 2019, and all of my friends kind of were having jobs lined up and I didn't, and I passed the NCLEX really quick. I still was just struggling. Like no one wanted to hire a brand new nurse with no experience. So I remember I was like crying and I would be in tears daily, like applying to jobs, getting rejected, getting ghosted, like getting a wink wink after an interview just for them to not call you back or to not give you the job anyway. And my dad telling me, like I remember my dad kind of side-eyeing me like, girl, once you put your nose to the grindstone, it's there forever. Like don't rush into it. And I was like, but I'm the only one sitting around here lazy, not working, and it's just not normalized. I think there's some in between of what you can be doing. But that's the thing, I think it's either you're gonna, at that point in time, it was either you're gonna work or what else you're gonna do. We weren't thinking about what other options are there in life. Could you be a content creator? Could you be a podcaster? Could you be a what is it called, the manager like of content creators, something like, or just not even necessarily centered around content creation, because that's what we're starting to do now, but there's so many other options out there of things you could do. Or maybe like you could have just got a little retail job at Nordstrom before, not considering the management, but you could have did something like that then while you were debating about other jobs, and then maybe you would have found something else you wanted to do outside of that, but you just don't have the time because you just feel rushed into like doing a job. And that's why I say all this stuff about haste makes waves. And now I finally figured out why that dang verse, I was reading that verse over and over again, like, God, why am I reading about Mephibosheth? What does this have to do with anything? And then I finally got it today. I'm like, we just need to, it all makes sense. Like, we just need to be patient. Because when you rush, and you rush into a career, and then you rush into like moving up into that career, because that's what kind of happened to me. I worked in a hospital for a while. I finally got hired somewhere. And then I was crying because I didn't have a job, and then I was crying because I had a job, and then I just still hated it, and I only lasted 1.5 years, and then I quit. I did travel nursing for a little bit just because I had more flexibility with my schedule. Then I said I still hate bedside nursing anyway, so me traveling and doing it, or doing it in one spot, it ain't gonna be. I just got to the point where no matter what I did to compensate to make my life easier in that space, I hated it. Because I actually switched units within the same hospital before I quit, and I switched to a much easier unit. Still crying in the parking lot every day before work. And then I was like, well, I'm going to quit anyway, because I had a friend that was travel nursing, and she told me to come along with her, and I said it got to be better, because at least I'm not forced to work. Because also, mind you, with my job, it wasn't the 3/12s a week that nurses typically work. I worked at a hospital where you had to work 40 hours a week, so I was working 3 to 11:30, 5 days a week, which you never get out on time, so I was really working 3 p.m. to like at least midnight, 1 a.m. every single day, and I was just miserable. And you had to work you only got every other weekend off. You had to work 5 days a week, so it was just very difficult, and I got burnt out within a year. And I started working during COVID too. I started working on a COVID unit in April of 2020, right when everything hit. So it was just very stressful, and I burnt myself out very quickly. I feel like if I had the 3/12s a week and I was able to like finesse and get 4, 5, 6 days off in a row, depending on how you make your schedule, I wouldn't have gotten burnt out so quickly. But because of that schedule, I could not take it. I said anything is better. So that's why I switched units to a different unit where I was kind of able to mix and match days. And we were talking about this too, where like you break your back for other people, and then within a certain job, and then they don't return the same for you. And so I switched units thinking I was going to get a day position, and then once he hired me, he still was like, we actually still need that 3 to 11:30 gap filled in, so could you please still. And I was like, well, dang, okay. And so I think that lasted a couple months, and then I ended up just quitting altogether at the hospital. Hello, girl. And so after that, I travel nursed for a little bit. Still was miserable despite the flexibility of scheduling and making a little bit more COVID money, travel money. But looking at the rates now, it definitely ain't worth it to be doing travel nursing anyway. So
and you don't feel any better. I thought like I'm moving up, I'm gonna be able to afford all these things, I'm gonna feel so much better. I don't.
No.
I don't.
No.
At my previous job, not talking about my
Yeah, I know, because you were making more money at that job. Like, yeah you were making more money, so yeah, the more money didn't make you happy in a job that you weren't happy with.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I just feel like I rushed to that, and then now I'm at a different job, nursing, and I think that currently working as a school nurse, I think it allows me a lot more flexibility, and I think God blessed me with this job when I got it, and I'm very, very grateful for it. But at the same time, I still just feel like, no, I ain't doing this forever. And I will say, adding on to this, Taylor, we were talking about this.
Final calling is not.
Remember, we were just talking about how people at the job were like, man, they were on the computer calculating how many years do I have to work before I retire?
Right.
65. And everybody, I will never forget because this is June as we're filming this. Mm-hmm. This was in the beginning of June, the last week of school. Everybody was sitting at a round table looking at their checks, and some people were like old enough to retire in a couple of years and some weren't. Mm-hmm. And people were like debating, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I don't want to work till I'm 65. What am I going to do? And I was just looking around this table like, so nobody wants to be here till they're 65, but we're all just here doing this with no other prospects of a different
people
job.
People lack the motivation, and they don't even know what direction of, like, it's not just the motivation. Some people like literally just don't even know where to start. Yeah, sometimes you have to jump and just start.
Hence the reason we're doing this podcast. Mm-hmm. Also the reason why I was saying, when you rush into a career, just because everything is so normalized, you're not even happy doing it anyway. So I just think if it was more normalized to take the time to really figure out a career that you really want to do, it would be a lot easier. And then the other thing I wanted to add too for both of us, and you want to speak on that, Taylor, how if we could just sit at home and just be homemakers, we would be happy with that.
Right.
But low-key, I feel quite ashamed to say that.
Right.
Because people...
I'm ashamed to say that I love cleaning my house, like taking care of my pets, like cooking. I'm ashamed to say I love being at home and like creating the perfect home for myself, because that's not a job, like it's not a career. But
people almost, I think, when yesterday I was with old co-workers, and they were like, oh, where are you at now? And in that moment I thought to myself, if I were to say I'm just at home being a homemaker, if that was something I could do, they would be like, oh, what? That's it? And I brought it up to other friends before that's kind of what I want to do, and they're just like, oh, You sure that's it? You're gonna be happy doing that? Because this hustle and grind culture.
Yeah, same for me. I hear so many people saying like, I know how to do work-life balance and I can work from home. And no, it's not. The fact that we like have our whole careers and like everybody can contact us any time of day, it's just like crazy to me.
Yeah, it is.
It's like there's no cutoff for work. I thought after school, like in school you have homework, you go home and you still do schoolwork. I thought once you get a career like that stops, and in 2024 it doesn't.
And not only does this not stop when you get home,
it does.
They extended it to 65, 67.
Oh my god!
It's not.
I'm gonna be on my cell phone at 65 years old, texting people
from
from
rescheduling people.
No.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
No.
Not even at the ripe age of 58, 59. I'm not doing that. I think, well, I got 6 years left. Granted, no shade to people that do that. Honestly, like, the people
if it's for you,
it's for you. But I just hate that people are forced into doing it.
Yeah, and people that when it's for them, they feel like it's for everybody. It's not. You have to realize everybody is different. Everybody doesn't want what you want.
And also, I will say, even the people who do love their 9 to 5. I really want to take a gamble and say you still don't want to do it until you're 65, 70 years old, which is what they're pushing it. It used to be 50, 55, but they say y'all folks living too long and we having to pay you for way too long this pension, so you're going to have to work a little bit longer for us so we don't lose as much money. And that just is really not fair. So I know that even in Chicago they're working on changing laws like that because it really sucks. But yeah, I just don't know where we are in life, and
Me either.
I don't know.
I will say that this is so like cliche, but I don't regret anything in my life. That was a struggle to say. Maybe I don't mean that. I don't regret anything in my life because I think we wouldn't have gotten to the point. Like
Everything has a purpose.
Bonding and talking constantly and doing our voice notes and voice recordings to each other because we bonded over how we felt about what's going on in our lives right now. And I would not have been at that point. We wouldn't have gotten to this point of podcasting if we never felt the way we did. So I had to experience all of that hardship to get to this point. So I don't regret it.
And if we didn't go to college, we would have
never met you. So it was all for a purpose. And again, haste makes waves. Like it's taking so long to figure out. Well, not really long, but it's taking a little bit longer to figure out what we want to do, but every step is important in some way. You might not see it right now. I'm in the thick of it right now, but every step is crucial and important. And when you look back on it, like, there's a purpose behind it all. So I am thanking God, and I might be struggling to see that purpose right now, but I know in the end, I'm going to be so thankful that I thank God every morning regardless of what was going on in my life, because there's some mornings that I wake up and I thank God and I think to myself,
I'm currently, again, what I'm looking up now
I'm drowning, but I'm thanking God still because...
Thanking God because I was going to say what I just got, what just put on my heart right now was the fact that haste makes waste, but... You think what was wasted, God will always give you back double what you lost. That's what I was looking up. I was like, I know that's in there somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but I was going to look it up. But I know they talk about how, like, whatever you feel like the enemy has used for your harm, he'll put it towards your good. And if we feel like the time was wasted, we'll get back double that in our 30s and 40s. Praise God.
We praise God, amen.
Praise God, amen.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, that could be the introduction. Do you have any other things you want to add? Or was that all your notes?
About everything,
So far, Thank you guys for tuning in. I think that was pretty much the majority of what we wanted to talk about. Of how do we get here? You got that off your chest?
Yes. Woo.
Yeah, we got that off our chest. Tune in for our next podcast.
Bye.
Next week. Bye.
We did it. Did we just do it?
I don't know.
It flows so well. Oh my God.
Okay.
It's my track showing. Okay.